I spent 3 terms trying to get them to respect me. It took about 3 seconds for it to happen, completely by accident. It had taken 3 terms for Mr. Dawson to get them on his side. 3 terms of fighting for their attention. 3 terms of trying to make them care. 3 terms of carefully constructing moments, balancing discipline and humour, keeping his temper in check, tolerating their interruptions, deflecting their worst attempts at banter. 3 terms of hoping, just hoping, that by the end they might actually connect with him over something. Music, movies, a book they didn't like, something, anything. Teaching teenage boys was like trying to land a plane in bad weather. You didn't win them over. You just survived long enough that they stopped actively working against you. And eventually, if you timed it right, they'd start treating you less like an enemy and more like background noise that they could tolerate. Mr. Dawson had earned that tolerance. So when he stood in front of them and said, "Guys, I have some important news," he genuinely thought that he had earned at least a moment of wait. That maybe, just maybe, he had enough goodwill stored up for them to meet him halfway. What he didn't expect was for Jaden to speak before he could even finish the sentence. "You're gay?" It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a dig. It was just a 15-year-old blurting out the first thing that came to mind. And unfortunately, for both of them, he was correct. Well, yes, but that's not what I was going to say. The second he had said it, he felt it. The moment collapsed. The thing he had planned to say, the reason he had stood up, taken a breath, prepared for the reaction, was now the least important thing in the room. He tried to salvage it. "I'm actually leaving the school this year. I'm going back to Gippsland." Nothing. Not a flicker of reaction. Not a single nod of recognition. They were still processing the first part. He could feel it happening, like watching a glass tip over in slow motion. It had taken him 3 terms to get them to see him as something more than just a walking authority figure. And now, the one thing that finally cut through wasn't his teaching, wasn't his effort, wasn't the carefully curated balance of rules and rapport he'd maintained for months. It was this. "Wait, you're actually gay?" Jaden asked. "Yes, Jaden." His hand shut up. "But, like, for real?" "Yes, Jaden." Another boy leant back in his chair, shaking his head. "Wow, we didn't know." And that was it. That was what fascinated them. Not that he was leaving, not that they would never see him again, but that he had somehow hidden this from them, like he had deceived them, like he had won something. They weren't mocking him, they weren't making jokes, they were genuinely impressed. "Sir, that's actually insane. We never even suspected," one of them said from the back. "You're telling me we spent 3 terms with you and never figured it out?" They were looking at him differently now. Not like a teacher, not like an adult, like a puzzle they hadn't solved. Jaden's hand shut up again. "So, like, when did you know?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. What answer would even satisfy him? "Always, Jaden?" He didn't say it, he just nodded. He had spent months trying to bond with them, months trying to find something to connect over. The right song, the right TV show, the right joke, anything to bridge the gap between them. None of it had worked. But this cut through instantly. They weren't interested in the fact that he was leaving. They weren't reflecting on the past 3 terms. They weren't wondering who their next teacher would be. They were sitting there, fully engaged, discussing whether or not he had been giving off hints the whole time. "Sir, you dress normal though," one of them pointed out. "Yeah, but maybe he played the long game," another said, nodding as if they were cracking some elaborate conspiracy. One of them turned in his seat. "Sir, be honest, could you tell which of us is straight and which ones aren't?" This was their version of processing. This was their way of showing respect. They had chosen a way to connect with him, and it had absolutely nothing to do with his actual teaching. Jaden was still processing, his face twisted in thought, then brightened. "But, was it harder in the gay 90s? Mr. Dawson stared at the clock. 3 minutes left. 3 more minutes of this. He didn't work hard at being gay. He didn't study 5 nights a week at a gay university. He didn't sit an impossible exam and finally earn his prestigious gay status. He just was. And that's what connected them. Not his effort, not his teaching, not his carefully crafted ways to engage them. Just him. The bell rang. They stood up, still talking, still theorizing, still missing the actual news. Jaden was the last to leave. He lingered in the doorway, considering something. "Sir, mad respect. We honestly never knew. That's crazy." And it was the first time he'd ever spoken to him seriously. Mr. Dawson nodded. Not the acknowledging nod he had imagined. Not the "take care guys" nod. Just a nod. Because what else was there to say? 3 terms of trying to earn their respect. And in the end, he finally got it. For something he never even worked for. Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Your support helps me create more content just like this. And if you're in the mood for more, check out these videos coming up right here.